Hey there, John Morris here, johnmorrisonline.com, and welcome to another episode of The John Morris Show. And in this episode, I'm going to be answering a question from Ty Harrison over on YouTube. So here's the question. Hey John, I'm 16 years old and I want to become the best coder I can be, but I don't know where to start. I know a bit of HTML, but that's about it. I listened to your great video of coder wisdom. Thank you very much. And from that, I want to get into a certain language that would be easy for me to grasp. Are there any books or learning lessons I could take to start my passion for coding early? Oh, and your ranting was helpful. I'm going to tell you what, Ty, you've gone and done it now because you've said that my ranting was helpful. So that means I'm going to do a lot more of it. And everybody else is going to have to deal with it now. First off, I appreciate the kind words, and let me go ahead and kind of dive into this question. So the way I look at this question, or the way I see a lot of people asking this question, is how do I get started? Or what do I need to do to get started, and what steps do I need to follow in order to reach a certain level of success? So I have kind of three phases that I think you go through when it comes specific to mastering web design and web development. But I also think there's some prerequisites in terms of things you need to kind of understand before that are more life things. So the big one that is in mind when I read this question is you really need to kind of define what success is for you, because you may think it's one thing, but find out that it's another when you really sit down to think about it. So a lot of people think that success is having lots of money. Now, money is fine and great, and we all need money to pay our bills and so forth, and we all want a certain level. But I know for me, growing up, I grew up in a family that was very poor, and so all my life I thought the solution to all my problems was just more money. And then I started having a lot of success as a web designer and started making quite a bit of money, and found that I still had most of my other problems. Now I just didn't have to worry about how I was going to pay my bills or put food on the table, which is great. That obviously alleviates a lot of stress, but you're still going to have a lot of all the other problems that you had. And if you're spending 40 to 60 hours a week working at a job that you hate in order to get your bills paid and put food on the table, then you're probably still going to be miserable. So what I found as I got more into it was that what I really wanted was free time and independence. I didn't want to have to work for someone that I couldn't stand. I didn't want to have to work somewhere where I was always just told what to do, as opposed to having actual real input and control over what I did. I wanted to have a little bit more control of what I made instead of having to beg my boss for a raise. And if I needed to take some time, I wanted to be able to take that time without having to plan around 100 other people. And so as I got more into it, I realized my definition of success was less about money and more about independence and freedom. All right, so I would just take some time to think about that, and because it's going to help you determine how you're going to ultimately craft your lifestyle or design your lifestyle. And you really want to design your lifestyle. You don't want it to just happen. You really want to be intentional about designing your lifestyle. Okay, so that's the prerequisite. Now, when we start talking about you've gone through that and you see web design as an avenue, as something you enjoy doing and you have a passion for, like you said, and it's an avenue for you to create the lifestyle that you have taken some time to design for yourself, then there's really three phases of your career. And so the first one is to find your niche. So this is probably the one that most people overlook the most and think every time I say it, they kind of roll their eyes and say, just show me the code, or just, what skills do I need to learn? But finding your niche is really probably the most important step, because there are a certain set of things that you can do in the entire web design umbrella that you're going to be naturally good at, that you're going to have a natural passion for, and that are going to be incredibly marketable skills that you can make good money from. You need to find that magic combination. Because if you don't, you're either going to spend a lot of time doing something that you don't love to do, that you hate doing, and it's really going to make it so it's not much better than just having a job that you hate. You might make good money at it, but again, if you hate it, you're still going to be miserable. Or maybe you love doing it, but you're not very good at it, right? So you may love to do it. You may spend all this time trying to do it, but you're just not that great at it. And there's certain things that you need in place to be good at it, and they just aren't going to come together. And you're going to constantly be swimming upstream, competing against people who do have a natural skill for it. So you need to take some time and think about talent. Now, I'm not saying that you need to just be a complete master at it right now, but it needs to be something that you really want to put in the time to get great at. So again, that's why loving it in the first kind of step is important. Or the last thing is that you might love doing it, you might be great at it, but it might not be very marketable, right? There might not be a good market out there for you to earn income from it. And if there isn't, then it's really a hobby. And you can have hobbies, that's absolutely fine. But trying to build a career around something that is a hobby is going to, again, be an uphill battle. So take some time to think about what you love to do, what you're good at, and what out there is marketable that you can actually earn a living from. So that's finding your niche, and you really need to take some time to do that, and you really need to dabble and try a bunch of different things. It's not just sitting down thinking about it. It's actually trying a number of different things and seeing what you like, seeing what appeals to you, and spending some time doing that. If you don't do that, then you'll never actually know if that's something that you really like and really enjoy and you can be really good at. Second step is then the probably the easiest or the simplest one to understand. Once you've figured out your niche and what it is you want to do, you need to master those skills. Okay? Now, we all know that. You have to get good at it. But the one thing that I would say here that maybe some people overlook is you need to master only the skills that you need in order to deliver on the result that you're giving other people. So if you're building some sort of PHP-driven application and in order to build that PHP-driven application, and this is what you love to do, this is the result you're going to give people, you don't need to spend a lot of time learning jQuery if you're not going to use any jQuery in that, right? You don't need to spend a lot of time, learning something like Node.js or some other thing that's totally unrelated to what it is that you're doing. You need to focus all your time and energy on mastering the very small set of skills you need in order to deliver the very specific result that you're going to deliver for clients. I'm not saying that over time you shouldn't learn other skills. I'm saying you should learn those skills first so that you can begin earning an income delivering that result. And now you're going to have a lot more free time to learn some of the other things that you might want to learn to help you be better overall or to help you get into other areas. It's going to help you get through phase 2, which is usually the longest part, a lot faster because you're not trying to learn 1,000 different things that may or may not be related to what you're going to initially do for clients. You're only learning the handful of skills that you need in order to deliver that result. All right, so that's, again, the key distinction that I would make there. Of course, there's all kinds of sites and tutorials depending on what you want. Udemy is a great one to go to and start looking for stuff. YouTube has lots of free stuff and so forth. So there's plenty of information out there once you know what skills you need to learn. Then the final phase is learning how to market yourself. And again, it's something that a lot of developers and designers overlook because in this community, there is a strong aversion to salesmanship and selling stuff. However, it doesn't matter if you're trying to sell your freelance services, you're trying to get hired at a tech company, you're trying to sell some sort of application you built. No matter what you're doing, you're ultimately going to have to market yourself or market your product or market your services. So you have to learn how to market. You have to embrace that in order to get to meet the goals that you've set for yourself, to attain the success that you established in the beginning. You're going to have to learn how to sell yourself. So spend some time figuring that kind of thing out, developing a system for getting clients, or develop a system for selling your application, or develop a process you use when applying for different tech companies. Figure out a system and then over time tweak it and make it better. My career took off when I decided to implement a system. It wasn't perfect. It didn't work great. I've tweaked it a ton over time. But when I developed a system, then I had a baseline to go off of and I can make changes to. If you're just out there kind of willy-nilly trying different things, you're always going to run into trouble. So develop a system for marketing whatever it is that you ultimately end up selling, whether it's apps, your services to a tech company, your freelance services, whatever. Right? So that's how to get started in web design. Find your niche, master the necessary skills for that niche alone, and then learn how to market yourself. So Ty and everybody else, hopefully that gives you what you need to get going. All right, so that'll do it for this episode of The John Morris Show. I want to thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, then I want to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe wherever you happen to be. Also, if you have a question for me, you can head on over to Quora.com and find my profile at Quora.com/John-Morris-67. And you can ask your question and then invite me to answer it, and I will try to get that on the show. You can also tweet me at JPMorris with the hashtag JMoIWannaKnow, and I will try and get that question on air as well. All right, so again, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next time.